Good afternoon, everyone. We'll give everyone just a couple seconds to hop on. We know internet in the more rural parts of Indiana can take a hot second. I say that, I live in Lasantville, which if you know where that's at, kudos, because there's only like 200 of us. So the internet, you can imagine, is about as good. People that are still trickling in, though, I'll give it just a second.
You have that cool fort there that they must build in that town of yours.
Yes. Yeah. You'd think it was built in the like 1700s, but no, it's actually built in the 70s.
Treehouse vibes. I'm getting treehouse vibes.
Yeah, it smells a bit like it too.
Nice. Love that.
Cool. I think everyone's joined. For the sake of time, we'll go ahead and get officially started. Welcome everyone to the Indiana Youth Institute's webinar, Beyond the Screen, Resources and Skills to Engage Youth in Transforming Their Passion for Esports into a Career. My name is Casey Zufelt, and I'm the Program Manager of Conferences and Trainings here at IYI, and we're so glad that you've joined us for today's presentation. We're also grateful to have the chance to connect to the community of Indiana youth workers that remain committed to meeting the needs of our youth and children. Chris, if you'll slide forward for me. For those who are not familiar with IYI, our mission is to improve the lives of all Indiana children by strengthening and connecting the people, organizations, and communities that are focused on kids and youth. Listed here, you can see the values that drive the work we do for Indiana youth. And before we begin, I'd like to share a few pointers that will help you engage with today's webinar for those especially who haven't used GoToWebinar before. Chris, if you'll slide again. Thanks, man. For any technical support issues, use the question section on the toolbar on the right side of the screen to send a message, and Erin Whitcomb, IYI's registration coordinator, who's behind the scenes, will assist you. If you can't see the toolbar, click on the orange arrow. We also encourage you to ask questions, so please use the question section for any you have, and we'll get to as many as possible. You'll notice that on your control screen toolbar, you can download a copy of today's PowerPoint as well. If you can't see the toolbar, click on that orange arrow. Later today, you'll receive an email with a link to complete an evaluation of this webinar. Please take a few minutes to let us know what you thought about today's presentation. And if you don't receive the eval email, check your junk email as it may have gone there. Once you complete the eval, you'll be redirected to your certificate of participation. Like all of IYI's webinars, today's webinar will be posted on our website. If you'd like to revisit a portion later or share the opportunity to listen in with partners. And I'd now like to introduce our speakers. Chris Bishop is connecting individuals and communities with the vast resources that Purdue University has to offer. He excels in building events and initiatives that provide opportunities for people to have happier and more fruitful lives. Chris helped to plan Games Make a Difference, the Purdue Academic Gaming and Esports Symposium. The inaugural symposium brought together mental health and inclusion experts, scholars, and practitioners to discuss how games can make a difference in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in the classroom, lecture hall, and mental health. And after decades in the software industry, Brian Dickman started a local business that allowed him to rekindle his childhood memories of gaming and learning to code. He started technology clubs, classes, and camps to be the mentor that he would have wanted as a young computer enthusiast. He now runs an education and game development company that builds learning experiences inside popular video games like Minecraft, Fortnite, and Unreal Engine. We look forward to today's presentation, so let's get started, and off to you, Chris and Brian.
Great, thank you very much, Casey. I was very thankful to be able to speak to this group today, and one of the things I'm going to start out in saying is I am not an expert in gaming and esports, and I know right now Aaron and Casey are probably saying, what in the world are we doing with this guy? Let me tell you what I am. I am a convert. So as Casey said, I build initiatives and outreach events for Purdue University. That's the whole of Purdue University. I've been in this job actually 7 years next month. And up until about 2.5 years ago, I never really looked at gaming and esports as a worthwhile endeavor. I thought it was something that kids did. It was something I did as a kid. But you grow out of it and, you know, and you get into more serious academic things. I am very proud to say I've never been more wrong about anything, you know, in my professional life. And as the first slide shows, esports are more than games. And I'm gonna very quickly give you some numbers and some data before we get to Brian that can really talk about the industry and career and educational opportunities. So here's the data, and this is one of the first things that I looked at. So right now, or actually in 2020, we have 2.7 billion global gamers. That's roughly 35% of the world population. 97% of US teen boys and 83% of teen girls are gamers at ages 13 to 17. The gaming community is also very diverse. 83% of Black teens and 69% of Hispanic teens play video games. And then you can also see some numbers of teens who have access to computers and gaming consoles. These numbers are from Newzoo, which is a gaming and esport research center, and also the Pew Research Center. Now, I want to look at the United States right now. And again, this is the data. This is an overview of what the gaming community looks like. So the first sentence right up here, more than 2 out of every 3 Americans play video games. There are players of all ages and from all backgrounds. Nearly 227 million players across the United States. I want to show you a couple other things that I just thought was that I thought were just absolutely astounding. The average video game player in the United States is 31 years old. This is not just for kids. This is something, and I tell her this very, very lovingly. My wife, she swears up and down she's not a gamer as she's completing level 3200 of Candy Crush on her mobile device. So there's probably people right now going, oh yeah, I do the same thing. So again, gaming goes across all genres. Gaming goes across all age levels. It's not just the kid playing League of Legends or Madden. Gaming is really a gigantic community, even in the United States, 227 million people. Now, here's where I really started to become a convert and really started to look at, boy, there's something to gaming and esports. The benefits of play. And I'll read this top sentence here. We use games to relax, to connect, and to be entertained. Players are a diverse community, and I want to highlight this, strengthening bonds through play. What does that mean? This is where the community is. So back, I'll speak for Brian, but back when our age, when we were kids, we would play football in the backyard, or we would go out and play tag and things like that. Was our community. That's how we strengthen bonds. This is how kids strengthen bonds nowadays. And you can see reasons for play. 66% unwind, relax, decompress. 52% fill time while taking a break or commuting. A high percentage escape to be entertained. We go down here. Be comforted by something familiar, 32%. Again, this is where the community is. Let me read a couple of these numbers right here. 89% say video games can bring together different types of people. And also 89% say video games can create accessible experiences for people with different abilities. I use this illustration a lot when I talk to people. There's a high school here in Indiana, and I won't say which one it is, but they have a League of Legends team. A kid who plays baritone in the band and the starting quarterback of the football team were on the same League of Legends team. That just doesn't happen anywhere else, but it can with esports and it can with gaming. These 2 slides are taken from the Entertainment Software Association. If you have time, I highly recommend that you look up that site. It's an awesome resource for people. Let's look at let's look at what's going on in colleges with esports. And again, I want to be quick through this. So in 2014, the academic year 2014-2015, the very first collegiate esports program started. It was up in Chicago. It was Robert Morris University. Kurt Melcher, he's called the godfather of collegiate esports. He started the very first program. The next year, we jumped to 3. This is where Marysville University came in. They actually have one of the top competitive esports programs in the world, and they're still in existence. 2016, We jumped from 3 to 38 programs. This is where you started getting bigger colleges and universities. So this is where the University of California, Irvine, or Cal Irvine, started. They're kind of considered the gold standard of collegiate esports. 2017, you jumped to 70. University of Utah started the first esport academic program, and then you can kind of see the numbers. 141. Now we really start seeing some growth. 270. As of last year, 558 colleges and universities have esport or gaming, official esport or gaming programs. Here in Indiana, and please forgive me, this is not an exhaustive list. We have a lot of colleges and universities who have gaming and esports programs. The big ones: Indiana, Purdue, Ball State, Butler, but then we do have the smaller schools: Trine, Manchester, Bethel, Grace. All of these schools have esport and gaming programs within their colleges and universities. So there's opportunities to continue your education and also to be part of a community in college or when you go to a university. Now,
Chris,
I want to spend.
Oh, sorry, if that's okay.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is the program growth in just clubs or academic programs as well?
It's a great question, and that's where I'll get to this a little bit. It's mainly clubs right now, or what they call varsity esport programs. And let me go back to this for just a second. Out of the 558 schools, there's a large percentage of those that actually offer college scholarships, just like the baseball or football team does, to go and to play esports or to be part of their varsity programs. Actually, I believe Cal Irvine was the first one to offer scholarships, but there are starting to be some academic programs of esports. They're not in 558 schools, but they are starting to be in more and more schools in the country. A great question, by the way. Now, speaking of academics in college, this right here is what made me a believer in esports, where I really started to look and say, boy, there's something to this. And this is by a researcher. His name is Nicolas Besson. He's a French researcher, and he's one of the foremost experts in academic esports. And you can just see esport related professions. Now, if we look down here at the digital, and then we go over here to the information and technology, the IT, all of these here, okay, yes, we have technical, we have, network technician, architect, we have the web developer, things like that. But then look at all of the other opportunities that have related professions. You have sales and marketing, business, administration, education. There's a friend of mine, and he runs, and I'm not making this up, he runs an internationally known middle school esport program. His name is Miles Harvey. He's out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he said that esports is the biggest front to learning that he's ever seen. I'm 100% bought into that. So I'll just speak for Purdue. On this list right here, there are 8 colleges within the university that are represented. 8. That is incredible. If somebody's a gamer and they like gaming, guess what? They can use that to college and career readiness. This is another way to show this. British Esports, again, is a great research. They have great resources, and they do a lot of research in college and career readiness and esports. And they also show the esport career pathways. You can see the transferable skills developed through participation in esports, teamwork, leadership, things like that. And then this is just another way to show academic links to esports. There's careers in tech, there's roles in esports, and then general roles, again, the sales, marketing, and things like that. Now, I want to show you this because this is something that was really interesting to me, and it's the National Association of Colleges and Employers, or NACE, identifies key attributes employers want to see on students' resumes. We've got problem solving, teamwork, written communication skills, verbal communication skills, leadership, adaptability. I want you to think about this list for just a second: problem solving, teamwork, communication, leadership. I'm going to go back one screen for you. I want you to look again at this list. Transferable skills developed through participation in esports. Do any of these look familiar or sound familiar? Teamwork, leadership, communication, problem solving, decision making. Key attributes employers want to see: problem solving, teamwork, communication, leadership. What I want to show you is that, and what I want to communicate before I turn it over to Brian and let him, really dazzle you, is that this is something that's more than just passing the time and gaming. There are real opportunities to connect with kids, to provide kids hope and opportunity, and it's only getting bigger. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Dickman.
Thank you, sir. It's funny side note. I was playing Rocket League with Miles last night. So my dad taught me to play golf if I wanted to be successful in business. I get off the computer and go out and play golf if I want to be successful in business. But instead, now most of my business transactions are taking place over video games, which is quite fun. I am going to. Which screen do you see? It just didn't. Okay, show. All right, which one? There we go. So there's a lot of the skills that Chris was talking about that was needed, but I think you missed one, Chris, from your list. And I think that one. Can you see my screen? Does it show?
We see a person dancing.
There we go. Okay, just want to make sure I'm on the right screen. So you missed one skill, the dancing. If anyone's seen this before, you probably might not know where it comes from. This is actually a Fortnite emote, and you may have now you may be sick and tired of seeing this, and you may be like this person right here. This is your response to kids that are inspired by a video game and doing the dance that they saw in the video game. Another thing I've seen when it comes to parents engaging with their kids, they would take their kids to an event, like a fan event, and basically spend their time like a teenager on the phone, ignoring, ruling themselves out of the situation. I don't understand your video game. I don't understand the nonsense. It doesn't make sense to me. Whatever. If it keeps you quiet, you can do that. And the parents will kind of disengage because they don't understand or not willing to learn. And I think a lot of adults feel uncomfortable trying to learn in front of kids and failing. And I think that's something we need to think about modeling as opposed to avoiding. You see adults might take kind of a disinterested stance in video games because they've ruled themselves out of the equation. And then there's the people that are like, video games are gonna turn your brains to mush. They just will rot your brain. And so they see it as some kind of idle waste of time and miss all of the value that comes from playing video games. So they take the stance of the fact that this is not something that's going to help you develop and grow. And then, there's the people that fear that kids are going to grow mushrooms on them. They're stuck at the video game forever. They're like, go outside, like go climb a tree, touch some grass. When I was a kid, we had like Chris was saying, we would go outside and play football in the yard and stuff like that. And I would argue that a lot of gamers do go outside and play football, like you were saying. The quarterback of the football team is also on the League of Legends team in esports. So there's a lot of that initial response, and I think like people are pre-wired to that. Like if you're ever in a conversation with somebody and you're like, oh, I like Brussels sprouts. people will be quick to jump in. Oh, I hate Brussels sprouts. Like, I can't believe like they're more willing to jump in and add their opinion to things rather than kind of acknowledge what you said and accept that. They're more willing to just overlay their thinking on top of that rather than processing it. And I think that general reaction that people have to things kind of gets video games gets plugged into that. So your initial response may be one of these many things, and I'm here to help you process that information differently. So when you see a kid that's like, hey, I like video games, I'm inspired by a video game, I like the character, I like the dances, I like the lore, I like the mechanics, I like the stories, I like my friends that I hang out with. What I want you to be is, rather than that first lady, I want you to be this person, right? And I'm going to teach you how to be this person, because this person is going to get a response from the kid that's telling you about the video game, and you're going to start to change the script and the narrative to give them more. You're going to start to empower them, and you're setting them on the path to their career future and all the value that they can get through video games. So instead of, oh, I like video games, you need to stop video games and do something serious with your life and stop rotting your brain and go outside and do whatever. We're going to change the way we respond to kids playing video games and deal with that. So my name is Brian. I go by Cleverlike in the fake name industry, which, you know, everybody gets to have their gamer tag. And there's a funny story behind how I got that name, but basically my family helped me come up with it, and it was not the intended outcome, but it was kind of serendipitous the way it came out, but it fit kind of like what I wanted to be perceived as. And so, you know, I'm a parent. I have 3 kids, and what we have become is the studio that builds educational experiences inside of popular video games. And that's super important because we're the company that takes kids that are interested in video games and we sneak in the vegetables, right? That's one of our kind of taglines, is that we leverage that excitement and direct it in a place that is kind of like what a parent would want to see their kid doing, the not rotting your brain and the having a healthy relationship with video games and getting the most out of the opportunities that video games provide. And also helping you kind of learn more deeply by using video games, because you can get into, in a video game, you could become a person, you could be in a place, you can deal with constraints, you can die and try again. The failure is a possibility, the decisions are a reality. And what we do as a company is we take those popular video games and we get in there and we code them to create a custom experience that is leveraging all of the investment of time and learning that they have done with that platform, but give them a new experience that they've never seen before. So what I want to do is I want to help you when you're dealing with kids that are playing video games. I want to help give you some a little bit of a playbook. I don't want to see those first responses. Like, I want to change those responses. If you've used them, I forgive you. And now this is your chance, like Chris, to be the convert and to realize that this is moving in a good direction, and I need to help continue to move this in a good direction. And you and your role and the influence you have over youth in your area is super important and super critical. And you may be the one person that creates the response that the kid has never seen before. And I think that's what they'll need. And let me have a little drink. I get all fired up when I talk about this stuff. So first thing I want you to do is to not dismiss them, right? Again, it's not about you. If they say, I like video games, you don't say, I hate video games in response. It's not about you. Like, let's say we don't care what you think about video games. We are talking about the kid that you're working with. We're interested in them. We're that curious person, right? So That's one of the first things is like, oh, the Fortnite thing, you do that stupid dance, you play that game, it's a bad game, I heard bad things about it or whatever. Rather than taking it that direction and dismissing, snuffing out that candle spark, we are going to take that spark and we're going to amplify it in the direction that we want it to go, right? So we want to recognize like, oh, you like Fortnite, that's cool, right? First of all, that'll be an interesting response. And then what about asking them some questions? Instead of telling them what you think the game is or what your opinion is on the game, ask them some questions. What do you like about the game? Who do you play the game with? What are some of the fun things? What are some of the challenges? What are some of your best moments? Start asking them. And when you're asking them, you're going to see now in a lot of cases, you'll have a very wide spectrum of kids that will, when you ask them about a game, like this is the first bit to like tapping into the fact that like they're a public speaker. They're knowledgeable. They're, they're a teacher. They can communicate. They're a collaborator. When you start asking them about, how they work with this video game, they're going to tell you, and they're going to be in their comfort zone like you've never seen before. So, I used to do a Minecraft club every week for like 5 years, and I started out like really like structured before kind of like making it more social. But I would have the kids present, and these are kids that like just they couldn't really speak to any other people. That's why, one of the reasons why they found the club. It was a great outlet for them. But when you ask them to get up on stage with a microphone and present the world that they built, all of a sudden they're public speakers. Like if you had them do that in the classroom or anywhere else, they would be convinced that they couldn't do it. So you start tapping into skills and confidence, and you are now being the role model of someone that's curious and willing to learn. You're showing them how to learn. And maybe the way that you ask questions and the way you explore things teaches them to be that way with their peers, and they're creating connections to friends and collaborators and future peers and colleagues by having that kind of open attitude. And so like the other thing is, once you learn a little bit more about it, so the one of the things I did a Minecraft show. It was parents versus the kids, and the game was rigged. I hacked a Minecraft so that nothing in Minecraft worked the way the kids knew it to work, and I put all the answers on the slides in cursive for the parents to read so that the little kids would kind of miss it. And the purpose of that was like, first of all, I needed to hire security because these kids were really mad that they were losing and the way I was changing the game. But it created a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz around the fact that the parents are there, the adults. So let's just, you don't have to be a parent, it could be a mentor or a guardian, anybody that's influential in a child's life, even a teen or an adolescent. You have influence over them, and so but you also have experience. You may not have gaming experience, but you've got a lot of life experience, and you kind of know, especially after this presentation, you kind of know the trajectory. You know where you want the ball to land, and you can't just get it there. You can't just teleport it there. It has to travel, right? And so you just have to set it in the right course. And so as you learn about the game, you're thinking, how can I sneak in the vegetables here? Like, what kind of challenges can I pose? And say, oh, maybe you could, have you ever done this? Have you ever done that? What's the greatest thing you've ever done? How have you brought that into your schoolwork? Have you involved friends? Have you done your homework in it? Things like that. You start to pose challenges to them that help them explore new things and also work hard to impress you, like so that they can come back and report, hey, guess what I did? Here's a build of what I did. And of course you come back very curious and interested, and you want to see it, and you ask questions, and you've started the ball rolling in a really positive direction for this person's career. Right.
Brian, speaking of questions, we have one. If that's
Yep.
cool. To what extent do public libraries support video games, given that some youth may not have their own devices?
I mean, in our library, if you go into the library, most of the computers are consumed with kids playing video games that are browser accessible. Mostly Roblox would be one of them. We haven't gotten into Roblox ourselves, but yeah, like you saw that esports graph moving, and you know that's basically revealing how available the infrastructure is becoming in all places, in schools, in public spaces. It's opening people's minds to the reality of the needs.
And one thing, if I can add to that,
Yep.
with Roblox, Minecraft has an education edition version, and that's being used in a lot of libraries. I live in Frankfort, Indiana, and that's about to be implemented here. So that's a really great opportunity for video games, and that's one that a public library can easily use as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to see. And a lot of school districts have a Minecraft Education Edition license for their students, and just to, trying to get their teachers to use it and accept it. We do a lot of building of worlds in Minecraft Education Edition, right? So the other thing to think about is that these worlds, these creative worlds, we call them sandbox environments. So we think of it like the box of Legos. So like it's great. You know, Legos are great. You know, every kid has to have Legos, and you want them to play with Legos and build with their hands and stuff like that. But these sandbox games are very much like that box of Legos, except they're infinite Legos, and you know you could save them. And you never have to break them apart. Nobody has to step on one. It doesn't hurt to step on a Minecraft block in the bedroom. So like there's numerous benefits of having these sandbox environments. And one of the things like when these tools, like say Minecraft Education Edition, becomes available in a library or in your school, it becomes now a form of communication. This is an area where kids are really confident in their ability to build and architect and plan and communicate. And so now they have a new voice. No more shoebox dioramas for every single thing, or carrying a poster board to school all the time. You could still do those things because those creative tactile things are awesome and fun and rewarding, but also adding the fact that you can use your video game environment to do your homework is super valuable. The other cool thing about it is that it's more demanding, but kids are willing to invest the time. So like if you're building your homework inside of a video game, you're going to have to also present it. So now you start to wear like a director hat. So you're like, okay, now I need to do this, and I'm going to need to do that, and then I'm going to have to get a shot of this. Now I have to go record it with a screen capture, and then they're recording it, or they're doing a screen share with a narration. And so the planning and the practice of kind of getting that right and getting that delivered starts to tap into some new opportunities. And first of all, like I've seen it firsthand, like with one of my kids. He spent hours collaborating with a friend and recording, and really started the spark of kind of what might be his future career. He's a junior in high school and wants to pursue video editing, and a lot of that comes back to having to get in touch with that ability to edit his homework assignments. So that video game and doing the homework kind of tapped into that. So lots of career paths: video editor, writer, artist, director, educator, lots of potential, right? And I like to think of it as, thanks. I like to think of it as leveraging their investment. And I think of investment as two ways, because one of them is the kids, and one of them honestly is like the parents. So the time investment is the kids, right? They've spent hours of gaming, right? And those hours of gaming are not wasted time that have rotted the brain and kept you away from the grass. It's time that you've spent building your dexterity, building your spatial awareness of three-dimensional spaces inside of a two-dimensional screen, and also like building your confidence. You're getting really good at something, you're proficient at it, your friends are asking you questions, you're knowledgeable, you're able to do things that you might not have thought of yourselves being capable of doing in the past. So that time, like that's the way it is, right? Like you're not born an expert. People don't necessarily have natural ability. It's the time they're spending thinking and working towards something to develop the ability to do something. And kids have a lot of time, and they're investing a lot of that time. And what we don't need to do is discourage that skill. We need to value it and build on it. And then we go to the money. This is parents and friends and birthday gifts and stuff like that. Kids have spend all their money on, why do you want to buy these video game outfits and dances and all that stuff? But the value, the thing I want you to look at that as is like, it's not just wasted knickknacks. What happens is when you make the video game your voice and your mode of communication, all that money you spent on your skins and outfits and dances and emotes and worlds and all that stuff, all of that becomes your actors in your world. So as you're a director directing what is happening, okay, I need this bad guy to do this here, and I need the good guys to come over here and do that. I need it to be in this setting. All of these things are things that could have been purchased along the way, and now could be repurposed as your cast of characters that you use to communicate. So I think that's one nice way to look at leveraging that investment, because I was looking at my son's. It's got like 300 skins in Fortnite. I shudder to think of like the money that was spent. But with birthday gifts and everything else like that, and it was motivated to do it as part of the game and the social. The social aspects of having different characters that you identify with. I think that's another part of inclusivity, is kind of giving people an ability to look the way they want to look and be perceived the way they want to be perceived. It's not necessarily like I want a character that looks like me. You like, I want a character that I identify with, that that's the persona that I want to show. So it allows people to have a voice in how they want to be perceived as well, which is really cool. So this is another big thing for me, is moving towards a career path. The skill, like you start playing Minecraft as a young kid, all these students are being, they're practicing this ability to navigate a three-dimensional space through a two-dimensional interface. Now, the interesting thing there is that when you do that, like you would see, like it looks like my hands are like overlapping each other, but then when I turn sideways, they're not even close to touching each other. So in a 2D interface, you can't tell that without moving around. So that ability to kind of control your viewpoint, your body, like if somebody was sitting blocking my view, I'd move my head. That's just a natural reaction. And inside of a video game, that reaction is not natural for people. We teach teachers how to use video games, and the hardest part is teaching teachers to understand how to play the video game and how to move around and how to be comfortable. Like the thing that kids have already mastered, that is where the teachers are trying to be familiar. We try to give them a safe place to do that and learn, because everybody needs to learn and kind of deal with it the first time. I encourage you, if you don't play video games, if you get an opportunity to join in and learn and go through the struggle of the dexterity and the learning how things work and failing and trying again, I encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity and model what it's like to be a first-time learner, and know that people are watching, and this is your opportunity to show people how to go about learning something new with a positive attitude. But you start with something like Minecraft, and then you start, like 3D printers become huge. And 3D printers, same thing. If you're designing a model to become a physical object, you need to design that on a screen three-dimensionally. So I've done a lot of 3D printing classes, and I teach kids to always look at things from more than one vantage point. And if they don't, they're like, okay, my thing's ready to go, and it looks perfect on screen. And I say, like, okay, like scooch to the side and let's look at it from another angle. And you look at it from another angle, and everything is all spread out on that one axis that they were looking down. And now they have to, like, basically, reassemble all their pieces. But that's part of the learning. Other things that are interesting to me is like remote piloting of drones. That's got a lot of usage for safety, transportation, exploration, things like that. You could send a vehicle, an unmanned vehicle, into a place where you wouldn't want to send people, and the person driving that has to have spatial awareness through the two-dimensional screen that they're using, and the kids are really mastering that ability before they're even into middle school in a lot of cases. And the thing that I'll show you is that the industry for this skill set is huge, and you hear about the metaverse and everything like that. So that's really just means like this skill set is going to be hugely important in many careers down the line. Right? Cool things, you have collaboration, right? These are multi-user environments. Kids get into a party where they're all connected together, and they have to make plans, and they have to communicate, and they have to argue, and they have to disagree, and they have to apologize and resolve and get things done. They go through a lot of social experiences by being online and working together in a video game in a shared environment. But they get to go through those struggles together and those opportunities together. And it's cool because they also, again, they're the expert. So a lot of times, each kid gets to be the teacher. They get to be the one that can do the teaching. And then they become experts at different things. Okay, so you're the builder, you're the modeler, you're the animator, you're the script writer, you're the whatever. They start to find their niche, and by finding their niche, they kind of now have an area where they're starting to develop an interest. So you might see like this huge array of jobs that need to get done, and then as you start working with people, you start to realize the things that you're really good at and the things you really enjoy, and then you become that person. And you're kind of starting to carve your path for your future career, because you've in this world, you've identified the area that you're interested in and the strength that you'd like to develop. So we've got Minecraft talking about career pathways. So if you play Minecraft, I can't tell you like how many kids that I've worked with that play Minecraft that are in engineering school, that are in architecture, that are in entertainment, video production, things like that, and also creativity, world building, art, landscape design, things like that. This tool creates a pathway that nurtures a lot of these interests. The interests become the passions that become careers, and they become the career that's happy. It's like the work that you enjoy, not the work that your parents told you, get into taking care of seniors because there's going to be a lot of old people and there's going to be a lot of money in that. Like, that doesn't resonate with somebody that's not interested in that, just following the money or doing the thing because there's an easy opportunity. The thing that resonates is the things that you gravitate towards and that you enjoy. And that's the things we want to encourage students to develop before we just tell them to give up on what they enjoy and just find something that pays a lot of money and do it unhappily for the rest of their lives. So then we have Fortnite. So when you get to Fortnite has a creative mode built into the game. So there's a battle royale game, the one where everybody goes in, there's only one last person standing, the battle royale game. But it has a creative mode inside that where you get to build, you get to leverage all these assets. It's amazing. It's hugely creative, and the opportunities for coding, creating design. We did summer camps where we created music in Fortnite Creative. We did like landscape design, so you could do like a Zoom background or a desktop wallpaper screenshot. We did Rube Goldberg machines, and we did escape rooms. So we did a whole array of things inside of Fortnite Creative, and that really taps into a lot of different creative areas. There's a tool called Twin Motion. So we're one of Epic Games trainers. Epic Games is the maker of the Unreal Engine, which is the tool that was used to make games like Rocket League, Valorant, and Fortnite. And that tool is another tool that we also teach to teachers. It's a free tool for education, and it is accessible. Students in middle school are using it for social studies, to build museums and things like that. So the tool is there, it's accessible, it's an on-ramp to many careers. And Twin Motion is kind of like an early version of that. It's designed more for architects and visualization. So like if you have a new building, you want to kind of visualize what the new building is going to look like in a setting, or a new piece of public art in the park. You can take the design of the art and put it into the park and model it. We have, I want to play, tell me if this audio works. Oh, that's right. I'll send you guys this link to this this interactive 3D video. It's a short video that explains what interactive 3D is. Super important. It really breaks it down in simple terms, and also talks about the career possibilities in there. And in talking about careers, we have the industries that are using this tool set, architecture, like we just talked about, so you can kind of preview your buildings in 3D, in realistic 3D. Obviously, video games, film and television. The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 3 were done inside of Unreal Engine, and the reason why they didn't use number 2 is because they switched to their own proprietary system for season 2 and realized it wasn't as good, so they switched back for season 3. So there's a whole lot of broadcast and film and television. Automotive, like car designing, is being done in these tools. Broadcast events, live events, controlling lighting and objects and stuff for live presentations, whether they be kind of like a museum exhibit or like a stage concert kind of presentation. Simulations, training. We created a robotics kit. So we have a robotics program inside of Unreal Engine that works just like Lego Mindstorm robots. And so it teaches kids the tool set, also teaches them robotics, gives them an opportunity to do different things. So all of these things inside of Unreal Engine are a pathway to your career. So we're talking about—
Brian,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
We have a couple questions.
Yep.
The first one is, what tools are there for the protection of youth from predators? And then what are the salary ranges for those careers?
Yeah, so obviously, like, I think teaching is probably the best defense. We do have, there's a Minecraft map we made called Home Sweet and it teaches kids to contemplate things that they do online. We also have a new one called Privacy Prodigy that's in the works that will be coming out next year, that will be teaching kids what information of theirs is private and who they can share it with, and what the ramifications would be if they did share it with somebody else, and how to always kind of know who your trusted adult is in your life, and never fear going to them for assistance. So I think that's probably the biggest thing to help keep kids safe is to communicate with them and help them be aware of those situations and understand, their value and their importance in the world. And the salary ranges, I mean, I would say, 70,000 and up is probably where you would see a lot of this stuff. Some of the most kids don't get to finish college because if they're studying this stuff, because it's in such high demand that the workforce pulls them in, because they're so desperately needed skills right now, and will be probably for the foreseeable future. The percentage of growth is pretty astronomical, and there's a wide area. So if it hits an interest area for the student, then they've got an opportunity in their area of interest. This is kind of one of my final slides here. So I want you to think about, when it comes to video games, like I've seen it. Kids get into a comfort zone, they get stuck in a rut, right? So I want you to think of like this image here. They will get stuck in the cul-de-sac, right? You want them on the highway heading towards their career. They will get stuck in the cul-de-sac. And without any attention, they will be left in the cul-de-sac, right? Your job is to kind of inspire them back out onto the highway, because what happens with kids is they'll watch a YouTube video or something like that, they'll learn a new thing and they'll go back to that new thing. I think in one of Chris's slides is talking about like you go there because it's comfortable and it's familiar, and that soothing attribute of video games is nice, but it's also it's also a potential limitation for your growth. So you want to be able to find ways to get back out onto the highway and learn something new, collaborate with some, develop some new skills, and not repeat the same process over and over again. So that's the one thing I would say, like in Minecraft, kids learn how to do a thing. They might do that thing over and over again, really until they find a new thing to do. And you want to keep helping them find new things to do, either by challenging them or, encouraging them to connect and learn. But just think of it in that context that if left unattended, it won't go as well. And that's why the advent of esports and, making this more formalized is going to be more valuable, because you're going to have an infrastructure. Like if backyard football was all the love that football got, you didn't get a stadium, you didn't get coaches, you didn't get equipment, you didn't get anything. Football was just a thing you did that parents didn't understand, so they didn't bother to create any infrastructure or support or grade level requirements to participate, and scholarships and all that other stuff. Like esports needs that infrastructure, that coaching, the motivation, the moderation, all of the lessons that an organized sport brings to the table for the player. Esports needs that, and I think that's what we have developing, and you could be part of kind of encouraging students along that path into a positive direction for their future. And I'll leave some time for some closing remarks from our hosts. And also, this is my contact info, so you're welcome to reach out. Our Twitter DMs are open, and there's my email if you have any questions or like to follow up anything that doesn't get covered during this session.
Thanks, Brian and Chris. If you do have any questions, feel free to keep popping them into the questions box. But with that, I'll try and monitor that while I close out. So if Brian, you'll toggle forward a slide. And just a reminder to everyone, a copy of the presentation can be found on the toolbar on the right of your screen to be downloaded. And be sure to receive the latest updates and opportunities by signing up for our newsletter at www.iyI.org/newsletters. If you'll toggle one more, Brian. Register for our upcoming webinars. We're excited for the webinar coming up on September 21st. And one more slide for me. Our in-person Kids Count conference is happening November 1st through the 2nd in downtown Indianapolis. Early bird pricing is available until August 26th. You can see the web link there. And again, remember, you can get all this information on the handout that is a part of this webinar. One more slide for me, Brian. As we conclude, I want to also thank our attendees who joined us today. We appreciate your impact and value your voice and the choice you made to learn and partner with IYI today. Later today, you'll receive an email with a link to complete the evaluation of this webinar. Please, again, take a few minutes to let us know what you thought about today's presentation. And again, just to remember, that email can end up in your junk or spam box, so check those if you don't immediately see it. Once you complete the evaluation, you'll be redirected to your certificate of completion. That concludes our presentation. I don't see any more questions. So with that, thanks again, Brian and Chris, and on behalf of Indiana's youth, thanks again for showing up today and every day for Indiana youth. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, all.